All right, so now we are looking at Essential Elements, page number 4, and we are looking at how to pluck the strings, okay? So if you look at the top of your page, we have some music terms here. We have the beat, which is the pulse of the music. Just like your heart beats, just like the seconds of a clock tick by, those are all pulses that we can measure, okay? So usually in music, we want to feel a nice steady beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it goes on and it goes on, okay? Then we get to what's called the quarter note. That's worth 1 beat of sound, okay? And we'll demonstrate that in just a second. But just because we can have sound in music also means that we can have rest or silence. So you'll see this, a quarter rest, okay? Now, a quarter rest is just as important as a quarter note because you need sound and you need silence, okay? Think about all the times in which you might have heard music that there was lots and lots and lots of sound and then all of a sudden, silence. It was really, really cool, right? And that's because silence helps the sound be even more intense, okay, at times, or even more purposeful. Then we have our music staff, okay? And the music staff is where all of our notes are going to go. For us, it's made up of 5 lines and 4 spaces, okay? Bar lines, those are going to separate what are called measures, or those small blocks of music. So here is a measure, okay? Here is another measure, and you can see they're each divided by those bar lines, okay? And if you look at this first exercise, let's play open D, you're going to see that we have a mixture of sound, 3 quarter notes, and 1 beat of silence, okay? So let's bring our violin back to our left hand, up, up, up to our left shoulder, bring your chin down, and now we're going to take our right hand and make the same L. We're going to put it to the edge of the fingerboard here, and we're going to find the D string, okay? That's our second lowest string, so if you're reaching all the way over here for G, D is right next door, okay? That's the note that you want, all right? Now, with your right index finger, remember your thumb should be right here on the edge of the fingerboard, not on the bridge, okay? Not on the ribs, on the black part of the fingerboard. You're going to take that index finger, find that D string, and you're going to pluck 3 beats of sound and then rest, do nothing for 1 beat. So you have ready and D, 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 sh. How'd we do? Good? Let's try to do the whole thing following that sound versus silence. Here we go. Ready and D, 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 sh. D, 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 sh. D, 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 and stop. Okay? So, that being said, we're going to do the same thing for Let's Play Open A. Now, remember, for the rest, you just do nothing. So remember, we had D, D, D. Just don't pluck for the rest, okay? Because if you pluck, you're making sound, and we want silence, okay? So let's go ahead and look at number 3. Let's play Open A. So we're going to go right next door, again, 1 more over to the A string, okay? And now we're going to pluck. Let's play Open A. Here we go. Ready, and A, rest. A, rest. A, and stop. Okay? Now, if you had any trouble with that, you can practice it as many times as you'd like. Just make sure you're only playing the sound when there's quarter notes and and not playing on the rest when there's a rest, okay? All right, so let's try choose a team. Now, choose a team is going to go between D and A, okay? So let's just make sure that if you can see the letters written inside of the quarter notes, they are going to tell you what string to play and when. Now, when you're practicing at home, you can always say or sing the notes out loud and the rest by saying shh or by saying rest out loud before you actually play it on the violin. So I might say D, 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 sh. A, sh. D, D, A, D, 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 sh. Okay? Before I even play on the violin. That's going to help me feel a pulse. That's going to help make sure I know what string I'm playing on when, and it'll help my mind be able to guide my fingers before we even begin to play, okay? So that's something I recommend doing for all of your exercises that I assign you for lessons at home, away from our lessons together, okay? All right, so now let's try to as a team. So bring that violin up to your left shoulder. Get that thumb onto the edge of the fingerboard, the black part here. Get that index finger ready to pluck on the D string. Find D string, okay? Notice that also when I'm playing, my right elbow is up. It's not down, hanging out by my stomach here, right? Or my side. Make sure it's up, okay? Away from your body. So here we go. We're going to start on 2 as a team, starting on D. 2, here we go. D, D, D. Shh. Now, A, back to D, 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 then A, then D, D, and stop. How did we do? That one's a bit tricky, right? So you're going to want to practice that by saying it out loud, by maybe just plucking one measure at a time, taking your time, and then feeling a steady beat or a steady pulse as you go, okay? Anything that you need to do to make sure that you feel comfortable playing it just as fast as I did with you then, okay? All right, let's do the last one together. At Pierrot's door, okay? This is number 5. And by the way, I'll zoom in a little bit here. You can see this P-I-Z-Z period, Pizz. All right, now that's not pizza, though I wish it were because I love pizza. I don't know if you do too. Hopefully you do. And if you don't, that's okay. But if you look at this fancy word up here, called pizzicato. Pizzicato is Italian, and pizzicato for us means to pluck the string, which is what we're doing with our index finger in our right hand when we're pulling the string, okay? Right, that's pizzicato. If you ever see that in your orchestra music, that means you're going to pluck the strings. Now there's a different word for when we go to play with the bow that we'll talk about when we get to the bow, all right? Okay, so that being said, let's try At Pierrot's Door with pizzicato, okay? So bring the violin up to your left shoulder and your chin down. Let's put our right thumb on the edge of the fingerboard. Get your pointer finger ready. And we're actually going to start on D, okay? So if I talk you through it, we have D, 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 A, D, rest, A, rest, D, D, A, D, A, D, and stop. Now, you're probably going to want to do that a couple different times, whether you sing it or you just say it out loud, just so that you can help yourself know what strings you're going to before you pluck. If you can see, what I did this time was instead of plucking, I just tapped the strings. So that's another thing that you can do to practice, tapping the string that you're supposed to play instead of plucking it, so that you don't make a lot of noise, so you can still concentrate and think, okay? But let's try plucking. Let's try pizzicato together for At Pierrot's Door. Here we go. Find D string. All right. 1, 2, ready, and D, 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 A, D, rest, A, rest, D, D, A, D, A, D, and stop. Now, they might have been tricky for you, any of these exercises, including At Pierrot's Door. That is fine. It's kind of how it should be. If it was easy for you, great. Keep practicing them so you get used to that. If it was difficult or challenging, that's okay. That's what practice is for throughout the week. So spend some time, maybe every day or every couple of days, going over these exercises so that when you come back to me for your lesson, you feel really comfortable and proud to play them, okay? All right, boys and girls, if you have questions, let me know on our Google Classroom, but otherwise, good luck.